ve şiddet tutkunu değiliz.
Biz de zindanla da korkutamazsın.
Your country is in big trouble.
Teslim olmanın sınırı yok.
The Kurdistan Workers Party, or PKK, has officially announced its dissolution, calling for the Turkish state to respond with reforms for Kurdish rights. As the PKK disbands, global media overlooks key Kurdish demands, legal reforms, delisting and recognition of Abdullah Öcalan's leadership. An opposition lawyer has been arrested in Turkey for distributing hard copies of jailed Istanbul Mayor Ekrem İmamoğlu's restricted X posts. And in Istanbul, the Saturday mothers persist in seeking closure in relation to loved ones disappeared during the height of the Turkish-Kurdish conflict. Learn more with Medya News. In a historic declaration, the Kurdistan Workers Party, or PKK, has announced the formal end of its armed insurgency after more than 4 decades of conflict with the Turkish state. The announcement, issued following a recent congress, states that the PKK has fulfilled its historic mission and will cease all activities under its current organizational structure. The transition to a political phase will be led by Abdullah Öcalan, the imprisoned PKK leader, in line with his February call for peace and democratic society. The group is now calling on the Turkish parliament to take what it described as a historic role in launching legal and political reforms. Key demands include recognition of Öcalan's leadership role, constitutional guarantees for Kurdish rights, and amnesty for political prisoners. The Congress also introduced a new ideological framework, democratic society socialism, focused on gender equality, ecology, and local self-governance. The statement went on to acknowledge the deaths of senior PKK figures Ali Haydar Kitan and Arıza Altun, and reaffirmed a commitment to the peace legacy of the late parliamentarian Eswaru Su Ray Ya Undaya. The PKK's dissolution ends one of the region's longest-running insurgencies. The path ahead, however, now depends on the Turkish state's response and willingness to engage in a reciprocal peace process. The PKK has announced it is dissolving its organizational structure and ending its 40-year armed struggle, prompting a wave of global headlines describing the move as historic. From Reuters to Le Monde, the BBC to CNN, international outlets have recognized the significance of the decision, which follows a February appeal by jailed Kurdish leader Abdullah Öcalan. He urged the group to shift its efforts from armed resistance to democratic engagement. The PKK's Congress, held earlier this month, marked what many outlets called a potential turning point for Turkey and the broader Middle East. In France, Le Monde called it the end of a fratricidal war. Germany's Der Spiegel and ZDF Heute reported on the group's formal dissolution and its long-term regional implications. Spanish media framed it as closing one of Europe's longest insurgencies. But Kurdish voices caution that much of the media focus remains on the ceasefire itself, while key demands are overlooked. These include the removal of the PKK from terrorism lists, a political role for Öcalan, and constitutional guarantees for Kurdish rights. For many Kurds, the disarmament is only the beginning. Without legal reforms and sincere engagement from Ankara, hopes for a lasting peace may remain fragile. A Turkish lawyer has been arrested in Istanbul for distributing hard copies of restricted social media posts made by the city's jailed mayor, Ekrem İmamoğlu. Burak Saldaroğlu, a former youth leader of the opposition Republican People's Party, was detained on Saturday and charged with insulting President Erdogan, a charge critics say is frequently used to silence dissent. The opposition lawyer printed and handed out censored posts from İmamoğlu's X account after it was restricted by authorities. He shared photos of the act online, prompting his arrest and remand into custody, a move the Istanbul Bar Association condemned as a violation of free expression and legal rights. İmamoğlu, widely seen as Erdogan's most prominent political rival, was jailed in March on charges of corruption and alleged links to the outlawed PKK. His detention, along with the annulment of his university degree, disqualifying him from the 2028 presidential race, sparked mass protests across Turkey. Rights groups and legal bodies have condemned the government's crackdown. Reporters Without Borders recently ranked Turkey as 159th in global press freedom. The case has ignited fresh concerns over judicial independence and civil liberties under the Erdogan government. As Turkey marked Mother's Day on Sunday, one Kurdish mother renewed her decades-long plea for justice and closure. Emine Ürek has searched for the remains of her son Mikhail for 34 years. Mikhail, a member of the PKK, was killed in 1991 during clashes with Turkish forces in the southeastern province of Mardin. His body was never returned. Since then, Ürek has joined the Saturday Mothers, a peaceful group of mainly Kurdish women who gather every week in Istanbul's Galatasaray Square. Formed in 1995, the group demands accountability for loved ones who disappeared during the height of the Turkish-Kurdish conflict. Despite frequent police crackdowns, they have continued their permanent sit-in for justice through the decades. Speaking to Kurdish media, Ürek said, "The greatest gift for me would be my son's bones." Her story echoes that of thousands of families still awaiting answers from the state as to atrocities and disappearances committed during the conflict, which has claimed over 40,000 lives. In separate messages, political leaders from both the main opposition, CHP, and the pro-Kurdish Dem Party called for peace. CHP leader Özgür Özel urged an end to mothers' tears, while Dem's Tuncer Bakurhan said the best gift for mothers would be lasting peace.
Medya News Daily Review.
Biz burada şiddet tutkunu değiliz.
Biz de zindanla da korkutamazsın.
Your country is in big trouble.
Teslim olmanın sınırı yok.